Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So I thought we'd try and do a lot more videos this year or this season for the National Hunt season, talking about different horses that caught my eye over the past week. Um, Instead of them being 15-20 minute videos, I'm going to try and keep them to 5 or 6 minutes video. This one might be a bit longer just because I've given this blurb at the beginning. So let's crack on and talk about some horses that caught my eye this week. We'll start off with a horse called LeBroy. Now, LeBroy finished fourth in a race that I think only four finished. Lots of chaos in a race won by some chaos. Now, the reason he caught my eye is this looked like a perfect prep run for the Beecher Chase. He was seventh in the Beecher Chase last year, and that kind of looked like a prep run that day when he ran in the Beecher Chase with the Aintree Grand National in mind. Unfortunately, a couple of runs at Warwick Warwick was very disappointing when he was only fifth, and he dropped in the handicap down to a mark that probably wasn't going to get into the Grand National. So if they've got those same ambitions this year, he's going to have to win a race soon. And I think they've got him primed for returning for the Beecher Chase this year, where I think they'll ride him slightly differently, and he'll be in that race to win. I think they'll be more than happy with his fourth place at Kelso at the weekend. The next horse that catches my eye is a horse called Goodbye Dancer. Now, Goodbye Dancer similarly looked like he was given a prep run. And I think he was given a prep run for the race that he won last year. As you can see here, he won at Cheltenham in December the 13th, 2019, before then going to Cheltenham again. And he fell at the last. Now, as you can see here, his win PR was 94.42%. What that means is he reduced in odds by 94%. I think he was going to win the race when he came down at the last. And with that in mind, that would have made him win 2 consecutive races on the trot at Cheltenham and at Cheltenham. Now, when he ran at Cheltenham at the weekend, he was held up out the back, didn't get involved, and yet he still traded 75% lower in the run. So he's travelled well, he's just not got involved, and this looked like a real proper prep run for returning to Cheltenham in December and potentially trying to do this quick-fire double in December and January. So he's one that you definitely want to add to your NagMe, in my opinion, when he returns to Cheltenham. The next horse I want to talk about is Frodon. How good was Frodon? That was amazing to see. He wins as top rated in a handicap. It's great to see those highly rated horses, official ratings, running in handicaps, giving lumps of weight, and proving that they are a class above handicappers and they are a graded horse. He jumped perfectly. Bryony, she just lets him do his own thing, and he reminds me of a show jumper rather than like a National Hunt horse. He jumps his fences nice and neatly rather than bulldozing them or trying to attack them too much. She just lets him pop away, and hopefully he could pick up a race in graded company, or one that he deserves. He's a real credit to Connections, and it looks like he's going to go for the Gold Cup this year. He's not one for me to back or anything, but I just thought I'd mention him as a nice. It was great to see win. One horse that did catch my eye was Glorious Zoff at Sligo. Now stepped up to 2 mile hurdles for the Diva Racing Syndicate, and he won really well as top rated, and I believe that there's actually shares still available in that horse. I'm not on here to promote any syndicates, but he's worth it being interested in. Have a look to see what sort of prices he is for getting actually a share in that horse. Back at Cheltenham, we had Soldier of Love finish second to Galvin. Now, as you know, I highlighted Galvin after he finished second in the novice handicap as a horse to follow for the season, and he's already won 4 races since then. That's nuts to have won 4 races since the Cheltenham Festival. Apparently, they're now putting him away for the season, and they're going to come back for the 3 miles 6, which is the former 4 miler race at the festival. He looks like that will suit him, and he just jumps really nicely. Back in second on that day, behind Galvin, was Soldier of Love, and he's run a great race. He kept winning for us as top rated. He then got beat by Galvin, but I think Connections will be really pleased with him because he's much more of a novice prospect than Galvin. and yeah, he could progress from that. I don't think that was a bad race. Back on the flat, there's a horse called Tronchi. Now, I really like this horse, and I think he could win something big next season. He's just gone through the sales, and I think he was unsold at 65,000. All he needs is a really strong pace and 6.5 furlongs. If you can find a 6.5 furlong race for him, and a good strong pace, something to chase, I think he can win a big handicap next season. So he's one to be interested in next season on the flat. Back over hurdles at Cheltenham. Imperial Elysian caught my eye when he finished a well-beaten 10th in the end at Cheltenham. Now, I thought he was interesting because he travelled really well without really catching anyone's eye and without really getting noticed. And jumping the last, he was just about moving into third before getting tired and probably not seeing out the 2 mile 5 trip on, up the hill. The interesting thing is he's won at Kempton over 2 mile 5. So I'd imagine that connections will be targeting the Lanzarote hurdle with him. And he's definitely one to be interested in going forward. There was 2 others from that same race that were interesting. Exod Ella, I think is how you say that, has previously run over the likes of 3 mile and a bit further 2 mile 5. I think they'll go back up to 3 mile with him. He was in a good position and then just got caught for toe turning in before running on strongly again for 5th place. He could be one that they try and aim at the Temps final this season. But he's definitely worth just being interested in what sort of trip they go next. I think a step up in trip will suit that one. And a horse who doesn't need a step up in trip, just needs a bit of a better run, was Storm Goddess. Now, Storm Goddess can win. He's won twice, but has also got plenty of places, so may just be quite a tricky ride. Storm Goddess was held up out the back, and she never got close enough. And turning for home, she was like, I don't know, she was like 14th, 15th, coming to the second last, or coming to the last even. And she has motored up the hill for 4th place. She's definitely one that can potentially go into mayor's handicaps. And she's one that I quite like for a similar race. Now that I think they're still learning with her. And that was a real step up in class, and she's proven that she is good enough. So they might drop her in class, stick to the same trip, and I think she can get back to winning ways. Over fences, Beat the Judge ran an interesting race for third because he looked like he was going to get tailed off in what looked quite a good race over 2 mile. Obviously, the winner was very, very impressive, Rouge Vif. But turning for home, or about 2 or 3 to jump, there was 4 or 5 in front that looked like they were going a lot better, and Beat the Judge was just starting to be pushed along. Now, I know he's won twice over 2 mile, and 2 mile 1, and this was 2 mile at Cheltenham, so it should have felt about the same trip. But it may just be that these were slightly easier races, or they were easier races, and he was able to beat not as good opposition over 2 mile. But he might need a step up and trip now to 2.5 mile. But he's one that was quite interesting, I thought, the way he ran on strongly at Cheltenham. And the final horse for this quick-fire video is a horse called Benny's Bridge. Benny's Bridge was sent off the 9-2 favourite for the Greatwood Hurdle in November 2019. And disappointed after having won nicely at Cheltenham in the October. This season, he's not quite run as well in the October race, but he's dropped in the handicap, and he's dropped in the handicap again. He's dropped another £3 for this run. He'd already dropped £1 there, so he's dropped £4 back to a mark that is close to his winning mark here. And I think that will really suit him come Greatwood Hurdle. He is entered again. And if he goes off 9-2 one year, and he turns up £4 lower the next year, you have to be interested in him. I think this year they know they might have used him up here, and that's what let him down the following time. And this time they're just being a little bit more conservative on his first run back, and they're going to target the Greatwood Hurdle next time with him. I don't know what price he is at the moment. It's not massive. Let me just quickly, I'm just using my other screen to have a look for a price for him in the Greatwood Hurdle. He would be currently It's 25 to 1. See, that's quite big, really. To go off 9 to 2 one season, have 2 runs, and be 25 to 1 next time, when this probably wasn't his run. This was probably a prep run. Yeah, I'm quite interested in him, and hopefully he can prove me right when he comes to run in the Great Wood Hurdle. So there's some horses from the last week or so that I think are interesting. We're going to try and keep doing these videos and keep them quite short. This is 10 minutes and 35 at the moment, so under 11 minutes, which is good. As always, any suggestions, feedback, anything you want to say, do get in touch. And thanks for listening, and hope we've highlighted some winners there for you in the future.